Hello, my name is Professor Esther MacCallum-Stewart, and I am a professor of game studies, but I specialise in analogue and role-playing games.
My name is Professor Catherine Flick. I'm a professor of ethics and games technology at the University of Staffordshire.
And welcome to Developer Mode. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about board game design. And we're very specifically, can you guess? And we're very specifically going to talk about sustainable design, because this is something that is a really big deal in board games at the moment. And there's quite a lot of different reasons for that, which I'll kind of go into as we start to do. But I thought it would be fun for this one if we kind of try and play some games. And we've also got a game to open, which we're not going to play because it's I very much enjoy it, but I wanted to open it for very specific reasons. But Catherine, so what is your experience with board games?
Board games. Well, I mean, I grew up playing a lot of board games, but they were mostly pretty bad ones. Like, the annual Monopoly, Christmas Monopoly game. I think, Uno was one of the big ones I used to play as a kid. Actually, a lot of card games, just classic kind of card games. I used to play bridge with my grandma. So that's pretty good. And canasta. Yeah. Anyway, lots of traditional games. But then when I was in my 20s, I started kind of branching out. When I was doing my PhD, there was a big board game convention in Canberra where I used to live.
All right.
And every year I'd go with my housemates and end up with way too many games.
Yes.
So that was when I kind of entered the real board game scene, I guess is the way you would put it. And, things like Catan, Ticket to Ride, Forbidden Desert, I don't know, a whole bunch of those, the Arkham Horror.
Arkham Horror, yeah.
That was one of the big, oh my God, that's an epic game.
That is an epic game.
That sort of stuff. And of course, tabletop games as well, so D&D and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty average description if you asked anybody in the games department of what they would say. And they might add a couple of kind of recent things. And in the department, we do play quite a lot of games. So we quite often have board game evenings. We get the students to play board games. One of the things that I always find really amusing about board games design is that quite often this doesn't happen anymore, but it used to when I first started working here, is that we do the warm-up exercises with the first years. And the first thing we'd say to them, we'll be like, well, this is your freshers week. We'd like you to design a board game and you've got 2 days. And that always used to drive me completely insane because obviously board game design is incredibly complicated. And I mean, the games that you just named there go from a tile placement game, Catan's a real kind of classic there, Ticket to Ride, which is a kind of race across the board game with all these sort of lovely little trains and stuff, Arkham Horror, which is this great big cooperative game, and Forbidden Desert, which is slightly smaller. Or was it Forbidden Island or Forbidden Desert?
Desert.
Yeah.
That Desert for sure.
My favourite. I prefer it to the other ones. But yeah, and kind of cooperative games as well, which are obviously they're not new anymore. Pandemic was the one that really put it on the map. Another Matt Leacock game, so was Forbidden Desert. It wasn't the first cooperative game, but it started to kind of encourage us to play cooperatively. And it was also at the beginning of a huge, huge boom in board games. Yeah. But we've now got to a point where there are games for absolutely everything. Lots. Yes, lots. And they have a really specific set of marketing models as well. And it's funny that you're kind of like, there were bad games. I think not necessarily bad, but old. But they're also games old-fashioned. Yeah, I mean, Monopoly's are over 100 years old now. But there are those are games that I sort of sometimes call supermarket games as well. If you went to the supermarket, you find games like that.
I think I got recently for my kids at the supermarket. So yeah.
And there are a couple of kind of new ones that have come in. Sometimes you'll find, Hey, That's My Fish, which is this game here with the little tiles. Sometimes you'll find Dobble.
Oh yes, Dobble is a good one. Yeah,
which is another really good one.
Yeah, I've branched into kids game, like sort of more kid-friendly games recently. So things like Catbox, Dobble, Junior Catan.
Yes.
What else do we play? Oh gosh, my son is obsessed with snakes and ladders still.
I mean, yeah.
and Pop-Up Louie.
Yes.
Which is not really board, but still a physical game,
I think that's an interesting point because I think one of the things that I sort of said that board games for everything, but actually quite a lot of board games are not actually boards. And supermarket games in particular, you quite often get these kind of great big lumps of, stick the swords into the pirate.
There's this terrible one with the face, the one with
my face.
My face. Oh my gosh. I played that at a friend's place on New Year's Eve once, and it was just like, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was never the sort of game I would pick up at all. Yeah, it's just not my sort of game.
But again, incredibly popular. And I think one of the things that I often kind of say when we're teaching is that it's very easy to be very judgmental about board games. And it's very easy to apply that kind of, this is good and this is bad and this is for children and this isn't something that I'd usually play. However, we've got all these different types. We've got all these different types of design. And I think, again, it's a mistake to think about them as the same kind of design. But one thing that we are seeing, and one thing that I kind of want to keep coming back to today, is this idea about sustainability when we design. So what I've done is I've brought in a bunch of games, which, as I say, hopefully we're going to try and play a couple of them, and we're going to open up another one. So the first one that I've brought is Hey, That's My Fish, which is this one. It is an absolute classic piece of board game design. It's also really interesting in, I believe, oh, there we go, right way up. This is the old box, and a new box was released that's about, it's really interesting, which is really unusual now.
Any bigger?
Nope. Same size. And I'm very unsure why it got released in a bigger box, because when I was packing today, I was like, oh, I can take that and use that as an example. I shoved it in. It's a very flat game, as you can possibly see. It's for up to 4 players, and each person has 4 of these fish. So which color would you like to be? Let's play the game first. So, okay, so I'm going to be blue. Apologies if you're colorblind. Okay, so the way that you begin the game is that you can place your penguin in alternately on any of these tiles.
Yep.
3 fish are worth more than 1 fish. Okay, so you can place them anywhere you want.
Okay.
And the object of the game is to end up with the highest score of fish.
Okay.
So the way that it will work, so let's say I start here.
Yeah.
When it's my go, I can move my little penguin any way across a flat connector. So I can't move it from corner to corner to corner, but I can move it across this diagonal, and I can move this across this diagonal. I don't have to go to the end. I could just go there.
Okay.
When I've moved, let's say I'm going to go here, then I pick this up. Okay, and
so what's the center?
And then you take it in turns, and that is how the game works. So would you like to go first?
Yes, I'm going to go for some 3 fish.
Okay, so I'm also going to go for 3 fish.
Do I have to move, or can I place?
We place first, okay, and then move. Okay, so I'm going to go for 2 fish over here, just because.
All right. I'm greedy. I'm going to go for 3 fish.
And I'm going to go for a corner, but there's a corner with 2 fish over here, so I'm going to go for that one.
Don't you come and steal my fish. I'm going to make sure you don't steal my fish, so I'm going to move.
You can't move it. You've got to place your 4th.
Oh, I've got to place my... Right, okay. I'm going to put this one on. I don't put this on.
I'm going to 3 fish there, and I'm going to choose another 3 fish. They're all actually grouped up in the corner here, so I'm going to go over on a 3 fish over here. Okay, so you go first. You can move any of the penguins. And as I say,
if I move, I can only pick the one that I started on.
Pick up the one you started on, and if a penguin is in the way, you have to stop. So with this fellow, you can't move on there.
Okay,
yep,
so
and you
pick that one up. All right.
Okay.
Haha.
Cool.
3 fish.
3 fish.
Sorry.
You are the winner. No, you're not.
3.
Okay, so this will become quite quick. Yes. So I'm going to move here and also take 3 fish. It's your go.
I can do nasty things.
You can do nasty things, yes. Okay, so the way that Katie's moved means that when she moves these, I'll be blocked. I can't possibly move that.
I mean.
I also can't move from that one to that one, so I'm going to move here and take that one.
Okay. It also means I'm kind of locked in here a bit too, so. Yeah.
It's worth pointing out that this game is played at competition level.
No.
That there are Hey, That's My Fish championships.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okie doke. I'm going to run away. So I'm going to go over here. We're running out of 3 fishes.
We are. I'm going to go and claim it before anybody else does.
Cool.
Okay, I'm doing well. Doing well so far. The strategy is.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Biggest number of fish.
No, I'm gonna also be mean. So I'm gonna move from there to there.
It's a bit
I'm just
mean.
gonna keep these separately.
He's going to run away from this one. Oh, hang on.
Yeah. So you can either go here or you can move as far along as you want. You can.
I'm going to move this little one out here.
Yeah. Okay, it's super. Okay, it's going to start to speed up a little bit. So
try to get out of this situation and also be mean to Esther.
Yeah.
Sorry, Esther.
okay, so because this can't move, I take this piece and this is out of the game.
Yeah.
So that's done. I got that.
Is that your move?
No, that's not my move. That's just the end. To be honest, I didn't check the rules, so if that's a sorry competition players. Okay, so I'm going to move here. That's the way that I remember it.
Right, that's fair.
It may be
that's
that's completely eradication of the game, but I don't think it is.
I'm worried about this one here. I'm going to move over here.
I suspect you might be able to play this with at least one of your kids as well.
Yeah.
Because it's super
Probably
fun.
the big one.
Probably the big 6-year-old.
Okay, now I'm going to rescue this one here. He's looking a little bit out on the iceberg.
Out on the iceberg. Yeah.
This is definitely a climate change story. I mean,
Yes.
look at this. It's all the bits of ice are kind of.
And so the ice is melting and off it goes. And I think this is a good example of a kind of early stage game where the theme is pretty environmental, but there's not much more gameplay and there's not much more to it. So one of the things that I love about Hey, That's My Fish is that these are the rules. And I teach this as an example of elegant design.
That is very nice.
We don't usually, it's 2 pages and it's something like 513 words.
Something like 530. So it's something like that.
507. It might be 507. I can't remember, but I did count them once. And one of the reasons was, whilst when we do teach board game design, we don't always say it needs to be that short. But this is a really good example of if you're going to design a really tiny game, you might want really tiny rules for it.
Yeah.
That said, just remember it was competition play. So
it's not like it's
So I think it was your go. So
it's your turn now.
Oh, okay, cool. There we go. Oh, it was a 3. Wasn't expecting that.
Lucky. I'm going to go to this 2.
Cool. I'm going to try and be free because you're blocking me in.
That is fair because I'm being mean. Where else can I go now? That's interesting. There's a couple of 2s down here, so I'm going to head down this direction. Actually, I might just. Strategy. I think I might go on this level here. All right,
So the other thing that this game doesn't do is it doesn't reference climate change.
Interesting.
So it's useful to. It's interesting that you can kind of be like, oh yeah, this is about the ice cap melting, but the actual description is the ice is breaking up. Grab all the fish you can before they slip away. If you don't, another penguin will. It's every penguin family for itself. So it positions itself more as a race.
Yes.
And this is actually a slightly older game, and it's a good example of one that when we see it, we think, I'm going to just keep moving. When we see it, we think, oh, okay, there might be lessons to be learned from this. Actually, there aren't many. The ice is melt. I couldn't kind of take this and say,
if you look at it also, I mean, you don't find fish on the top of ice, really. I mean, penguins don't go fishing on
all of these things. Penguins don't go fishing on top of ice.
No.
Ice glaciers don't work like this. This isn't an educational game.
No.
Right. It is a useful game for starting to get people to think about climate change because it's at the top of our minds. So it kind of comes into our heads more than it might do otherwise. But it's also, there are lots and lots of...
Till I change what I was going to do. I was like, hang on, just a second. I'm blocking myself off here. All right, I want that one.
Yeah, it gets really strategic really quickly, doesn't it? And you think, oh no.
Because now look, there's now a gap.
I'm completely isolated
so if I can clear all these up technically, do I still have to go through the process?
Yeah, but what happens at the end is you can just hoover. So as long as you can just... you knock me out, which is what's going to happen here because I wasn't concentrating as much. And I'm not very good at this game anyway.
No, you didn't expect to come up against a seasoned
professional. Yeah. So you can see I'm going to do the same thing here as I'm going to block you out, but you can move there so you can just take both of those.
Yeah, which I will do.
This is probably not the way he plays, but actually in a really long time. There'll be lots of people atting us, don't at us.
Yes. And remember, we are not seasoned professionals.
Yeah. So maybe they're out.
Do I get that one?
No, that was the one that got knocked.
Okay.
So it goes away. So again, at this point, I can only do that, or that. So that one goes away. And I've got the rest of those ones. And then if you can find a route that you take all of those pieces, you just grab them.
So I can go dirt. And then I can go all the way along here. I can get these ones with that. And then I can go dirt.
So yeah, okay. So there you go. Okay.
All right.
End of the game, you count up who's got the highest score. Highest score wins.
I think it's me.
That's just, I think it's you.
My piles are much bigger, so I think it probably
So
is me.
this is not only a really good game, but it's
fun.
really elegant design, right?
Yeah.
However, what it does do is it's actually quite piece intensive because it's up to 4 players. You've got all this cardboard here, all these bits and pieces. We've got 4 of these. They're all individual.
Yeah.
And whilst it fits into quite a small box, there's still quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that board gamers love. We love stuff. We love bits. Again, when I started getting this out, you were like, oh, look at this. Oh, look, I can play around with it. It feels really tactile. We've got this mad tree thing in the middle. I'm not going to make you play all of this because this one's slightly more complicated. But there's loads and loads and loads of stuff. And there's kind of multiple problems with that at the moment. We've actually got to the point. So this game here is called Bloom Chasers, and this is a big boy. It is a big boy. Whether or not it needs to be such a big boy is a debate because it's a very tactile game. It's meant to be a kind of tree builder, which we'll go on to in a moment. And board games have sort of developed to the point where board gamers, they love stuff. We like role players, we like dice, we like things, we like being able to touch things, we like lots and lots and lots of things. There are several problems with this. The first is that that's very unsustainable.
Yeah.
Because we've got really individual pieces of card. They're usually kind of popped out of square pieces.
Recycle the cardboard.
Yeah, but how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Because actually,
They probably won't take
cardboard this size is not usually. And also, why would you?
Yeah, right. I mean,
I
guess with these sorts of games, you probably end up giving them to somebody else, right? But then what happens if you lose, if you lose one of the penguins, for example?
Yeah.
Is it,
the game is,
that's it.
You know,
Can't play.
Yeah.
Or you find a piece from you use one of these instead, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, there's ways of kind of improvising around it, but actually they're often, and as games get bigger, that becomes more of a problem. So with things like Arkham Horror, some of the Arkham games have got hundreds of pieces in. They've got cards, they've got figures, they've got tokens, they've got the board, they've got.
I think it took about 3 hours just to get everything out of the
massive setup on games like
things,
that.
Yeah.
One of the games that I play a lot at home is called Gloomhaven, and there's 2 different versions of it. It weighs, I think it was 11 kilograms. It is a beast. It might be 11 pounds again. My numbers are so bad, but it's very, very heavy. And it's got thousands of pieces in it. And again, plastic, cards, cardboard, board tokens. Some of them are only used once. Yeah. And then when I actually store my Gloomhaven, it's not even stored in the box because I can't get it back in the box.
Maybe that's why the new box of this one.
Maybe it's why maybe it's why it's so big. It's a real difficult thing to do.
I hate it when you can't get them back in the box. So I've got a couple of games where it's just really hard to get them back in because it was all industry packed. There's no way, especially after a few playthroughs, the cards are going to be that compact.
And there's other things as well. If you're playing a game that needs unique cards and it's important that other people don't see them, it's quite common for gamers to sleeve them as well. So they put them in plastic sleeves in order to protect them. Even if it's a game like Love Letter that's only got sort of 17 cards or so. I was playing another one called Fox in the Forest over Christmas. I played it once and I said to the person I was playing with, I need to sleeve this. And I've only played it once, but I still put it in sleeves. So now there's all the kind of extra stuff that you're putting in it. So lots of stuff, lots of things, lots and lots of big packaging, and an industry of consumers who really love that. So you've got this combination.
That's really interesting because one of the things I did when I was sort of getting into more serious board games is I bought a bunch of the cheap ass games, which is where they have the game rules, but you use pre-existing tokens.
Yeah.
But hilariously, one of the games was Kill Dr. Lucky.
Oh, yeah.
But then I went and bought the board game version of the cheap-ass game because I didn't want to have to go and find all the tokens that I needed each time.
And you mentioned Ticket to Ride as well. So Ticket to Ride board game sales were increased by releasing it as an app because people were like, I want to touch these little train cars. I want to feel the sensation of putting them on the map, not just pressing a button. And Asmodee, the company, Days of Wonder and Asmodee, the companies that produced that, realized really quickly that producing an app would actually boost physical sales, would want people to go to events. Again, now people are traveling and so on and so on and so on and so forth. So we've got the buying train tickets. Yeah. So we've got this problem of consumption and creation. And there's also, I always feel like when I sort of talk about this, there's an element of like, you're really spoiling my fun. Like, you can't have all the dice.
To my world. I'm the party pooper.
The epic party pooper.
As the ethicist,
yeah. No, you can't have all this stuff. All this stuff is bad and wrong. The second problem that we actually have at the moment is politics, because most of this stuff, not all of it, but most of it is manufactured in China. And that includes the card and it includes the cards. So the board game industry is now looking at tariffs being applied to the board game industry, which are massively ratcheting the costs up. And last year in particular,
and they're not cheap to start with.
No, they're not. I mean, this was a Kickstarter, and I think it was about £50. Hey, That's My Fish you can buy for about £12. And Far Away was, I think, 27. So Far Away, again, small looking game, but but has done some sustainability in it. But so the industry itself is now trying to think of ways that they're going to chase that, because obviously they do not want to be selling this game and suddenly it costs 150 quid. And I'm just going to very briefly show this game because it's another quite simple game, but we're not going to play it, but you can play with it. Okay, so take a piece. Base piece on here. That's pretty. I really should have checked the rules on this, actually. So it's a combination of placing pieces, taking cards that tell you what you can do. So I seem to remember you take a piece, you put it down, then you pick one of these cards which tells you
place a bud,
what you can do.
And
so a bud is that, confusingly.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the idea of the game here is that you're building a system whereby you can, and then you choose it according to one of these. So let's say you took, that one. You pick that from it. So you take that out, your card comes in. There's an order to that. Can't remember it. Done that. Too many games, too many times.
Yep.
So what you're doing is you're gradually building all these buds, all these different pieces, and then you're growing flowers. Let's just put that one. So this ridiculous tree gradually grows. Feel free to build it. And then when you draw the bloom card, you bloom the flowers, and depending on where your buds are, you add these to it. So let's say I had three buds there for reasons. It looks great. It is incredibly difficult to put together, and it's really fiddly, and it will break all the time. But when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this game is amazing. I want this 3D game. It was very heavily advertised on my social media as well. Doesn't really have an environmental theme again, despite the fact that it's about growing buds and trees.
Yeah, that seems like, are there no drought? Are there a drought?
So there is
I got
there is a blight card in the
blight,
the 1-person edition, which I think takes flowers away. But other than that, no, it's rain, wind, and sun, and bloom.
Everything's nice all the time.
Oh, everything's lovely all the time, and nothing is wrong with this massive piece of plastic.
Oh, you put more branches on?
Yeah, because one of them grows. So let's say I had buds on the top and the bottom, and it grows all the way through.
Well, that's
very cool. It is cool,
and
it is sweet.
Yeah,
and I really wanted it because I really wanted this kind of,
it's pretty.
this kind of pretty game. And then when it arrived, I just thought, oh gosh, what have I done? But this is also, I would imagine, a game that is kind of a product of its time. It's a product of the last couple of years, but not the product of last year. And I do wonder like what would have happened if it was developed this year. So yeah, you'd need one to be directly underneath it.
Oh, rude.
It's been set up at all.
Oh, there's one beer thing
over there. Yeah. So again, it would need buds on it. It's lovely.
It is lovely.
So developers have started to work on this. So not just in the last year, but people are actually genuinely concerned about the sustainability of board games. And also, how do they make games that aren't just about environmental topics, potentially, maybe, sort of, but are actually about teaching about climate change and sustainability without being that game.
Yeah, so I mean, you could add a drought card to this, right? And then that would take away one of the branches or something like that, and that would probably be, it's very subtle, but it's a way that you could indicate that there are, things that are not so positive about growing flowers in the current climate.
Yeah, and you could also do things like you could change the cards, which are sort of quite bland is the wrong word because they're actually really aesthetically pleasing, and perhaps the drought card might have more pictures of manufactured landscapes on it, right? Because quite often what happens when people design games about sustainability is that they design a climate change game which is really dense. It's incredibly
whack you over the head.
Very whack you over the head, very political agenda, and it's very educational. And we also know that board game players don't really like that much.
So interesting with this one, right? It says on the back here, the ice is breaking up. So one very simple thing you could do with the fish game is talk about why the ice is breaking up. But then would that be too much?
I mean, you could again say times have changed. The ice is melting. Same amount of words or similar amount of words, but you're kind of changing the theme on it. And that's partly what people are starting to do. So they're just starting to just tilt slightly towards, without banging you over the head with sustainability, they're kind of thinking about it. And the other way that people are doing it is packaging. But there are issues with that as well. So a couple of examples of games first one that I couldn't fit in because it is actually really large, and also one that I don't have. So there was a game brought out last year called Daybreak, and it is again by Matt Leacock. And oh no, I can't remember Matteo's surname. I'm sorry, Matteo. So Matt Leacock and Matteo designed this game called Daybreak, which is a cooperative sustainable game where you kind of combine cards and you get kind of runs of stuff and you put things together. And it's actually quite big, but they wanted to make it sustainable. So it's sustainable packaging, sustainable cards, dies, all of this kind of thing. And the kind of remit was not just is it going to be a fun game about climate change, in as far as we can make that.
It's going to practice what they preach as well.
But it's also going to practice what they preach. And they just about managed it. And you can, it's a really good quality box. It's got really good quality stuff in it. They did things like Ravensburger have done this recently, the puzzle company. It's not wrapped in plastic like this one is. It's got stickers on it.
Oh, yes.
So really simple. And in fact, one of the reasons so Ravensburger, who make the jigsaw puzzles in Germany, did exactly the same recently. And they have cut their plastic emission hugely. The stickers are a bit of a pain if you're a speed puzzler and you're in competitions, but there's ways around that. They found ways around that. Yeah. Absolutely.
The fingernail.
The fingernail. In the recent speed puzzling world championships, they actually gave out a little tool. Then they realized the tool didn't work very well, so they were giving instructions on how to use the tool to use the, But again, like very simple changes like that, which actually the industry have thought, hang on a minute, it's not just environmentally friendly, it's saving us money.
Yeah.
Ravensburger have actually said, have actually said that they have more storage room now because they don't need their plastic wrapping machine.
So this is really interesting because in the sorts of stuff that I do where, I'm constantly banging on about, responsible innovation, like actually innovating responsibly and thinking about the impacts and things like that of what you're making. I mean, this applies to anything really, but I'm normally in tech doing this. And companies are always really reluctant. They're like, oh, but it's going to take so much time. It's going to spend, we're going to spend money doing it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, okay. So maybe you have to spend a bit of money researching what best stickers to stick on your box.
Yeah.
Yes, that will take time. But ultimately, what will probably end up happening is because your outputs are much more aligned with environmental friendliness, societal engagement and acceptance, that will actually end up saving you money in the long run. So it's this kind of short-term, you might not have a short-term gain, but medium long-term is actually where the big gains are to be made with this sort of thinking, right? So it's about just, companies traditionally are just like, yes, this works. We don't want to change it, right? I mean, it's hard to kind of...
We spent the money already.
Yeah,
so we already spent the money.
We've done that R&D, and we know that this plastic works better than that plastic, and this one's cheaper than that one.
And what if the boxes get wet? And what if?
Yeah. So there's a lot of this sort of thinking that I'm starting to see it in more industries now as well. I mean, it's very poorly taken up by the tech industry, as you can probably imagine. But there are still companies that actually want to do this and want to engage with that process, and I'm glad to see that that's happening.
And I think one of the things that both one of Matt Leacock's design principles has been right from the start is to lead by example. And he's done that in all sorts of different ways. So, for example, in Pandemic, the examples that he uses of the players who are playing the game are all female names. As it turns out, they're his two daughters and his wife's name, which is very charming. But it also means that suddenly there's an example of play that isn't male-centered. And it's just a tiny change. It doesn't make any difference to the example. But he also, when he developed the box for Pandemic, some of the original boxes were kind of people running and flames and fire and chaos.
I had that version, actually.
Yeah. Well, no, because
I had something like that.
He insisted that not be the design, and the original designs have got the job roles on the front.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
And so the people that are standing at the front, one of them is a woman wearing a lab coat. And she's just one again. She's one of the characters.
Lab coat,
And again, he argued very strongly that he wanted to make sure that those people on those boxes were people, right? It wasn't 7 guys playing 7 roles. It was 7 people with jobs to do. And the jobs in Pandemic are very mundane. They're things like dispatcher, medic, and scientist. They are heroic, but they're heroic in a way that we could do.
Kind of practical way rather than...
And everybody has one task, and that one task helps everybody else, and it's different for everybody else. And this was a similar thing that he wanted to do in Daybreak, where he's now an incredibly successful games designer. He's designed all these amazing games he's been designing for a very long time. And one of the things to do with Daybreak was we can set that trend for other people to follow. And I think Ravensburger, to an extent, did the same with the packaging. We are huge. We make jigsaw puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles are made of cardboard.
I mean, honestly, when you think of jigsaw puzzles, you think of them, right?
Yeah,
they're the one
absolutely.
The brand name of jigsaw puzzles. So.
And they're, and they stepped over the, but what if it gets wet? But what if this happens? By, let's beef up our box. I mean, this thing, look at this.
Yeah, that's solid.
It's not a Ravensburger product, but it's pretty solid. And again, they're kind of moving forward in design in ways that say, look, I think we're maybe worrying about this a little bit too much. Perhaps we should worry about these other things. It was also noticeable that they released a whole load of very eco-fun images in some of their puzzles over the last couple of years as well. So those are kind of some of the ways that you can just tweak design just a little bit. And I think going back to this idea of kind of tariffs as well, to be blunt, that actually they sometimes end up being in people's interests. So less packaging, less stuff, making it smaller. The one that I couldn't fit in actually is Azul, which is a fantastic game of tile laying. It's very clickety-clackety rocks. Azul shrunk my box. So the box it's actually about that big. And I know because it was on the shelf when I was trying to take it out, about that big. It's about that wide. And they've shrunk it down, and they're now selling it in Waterstones on the table where you buy your books, which you probably couldn't do if you were selling, So again,
there's definite benefits there, right?
And it, so again, a commercially minded decision that's also environmentally friendly is kind of...
and there are knock-on effects from that as well, right? So if you're like, a lot of board games get sold at conventions, right? And so what you can imagine sort of, I had a friend who worked in one of the game stall places, they get the games companies at PAX East, right? And you can imagine them like having to cart around all these games, right? So either you're spending less on your fuel and carbon footprint to move these around as well, but also or you've got a broader variety of games, right? So it's actually there are these kind of knock-on effects as well, which I think. And I was thinking about the plastic thing on this is like, so if you take this as an example, I mean, so Ravensburger may say, oh yeah, what if the box gets wet? But actually, a cardboard box like that, if you bang that about, you might get a scuff or something on it. But if you bang this about, it'll rip. And that's much more obvious to a consumer as damage than it would be something like scuffing. So you actually, I almost bet with my packaging hat on, which I only have a small packaging hat, but my sudden expertise in packaging, I bet you would find there are actually fewer returns of the new Ravensburger boxes than there would have been.
Or discounted on shelves,
sold because of seconds, or because of box damage, right? Is often
So before we open that, which is what I wanted to do to sort of finish up a bit, I think we're a bit more mini-sode than some of the other developer modes. I just wanted to give the other example, which is Earthborn Rangers. So Earthborn Rangers is the game that I didn't bring in, and I'd like to thank Doug, my co-writer, for giving me the information on this one, because he is a huge fan of them. Mm-hmm. But they released their game with a pledge to be environmentally friendly, and they didn't manage to hit it. Right. So they kickstarted, and they pledged that they were going to do these things as far as possible. And they didn't manage to achieve these goals. But what they do is they produce an incredibly detailed podcast. It's hundreds of episodes about making this game, where they went through the making of the game and they discussed in a huge amount of detail why they failed to hit these targets. And having said that, you can actually see from looking at the box that the ink is different, the cardboard is different. But they actually go into all these things, all these different things on the podcast, including things like when you are shipping your 9,000 copies of your game, where is it in the packaging crate? Because if it's on the bottom, is it going to get squished? And if so, how do you make the cardboard robust so it stops that? And if it's on the top, is it going to get banged around? And so there's all these other considerations that we just don't think about, that aren't just, oh, wouldn't it be nice if the box wasn't, what if the ink is like this? What if it's like that? And so I actually recommend, if this is something that you want to know more about, or you want to know more about, go and listen to some of those podcasts, because I think the practicalities of this are really complicated. And we're kind of balancing that. We want nice things with, we want stuff. We love, I gotta say, I saw this and I was like, I need this mound of plastic in my life, and I need to go and work out how to play it properly.
I think you can sort of think about this and think about things like, I've seen games that use like Lego, for example, where you can build, part of the game is building Lego in certain ways, for example. And I mean, there are some kind of fun ways you can kind of do this, right? I mean, obviously Cheap Ass Games did the whole bring your own counters and bring your own dice thing. And literally it was just the instructions and maybe a piece of paper that had the board on it or something like that, right? There might be it was all paper, right? Very easy. In fact, they ripped more because after, a few playthroughs, but they're very cheap. I mean, it's in the name, right? And that was part of their philosophy. But then, there are probably some more kind of creative ways that you can do this. If you want to make a game, I mean, something like Lego is fairly ubiquitous, I would say, especially if you're a game person, right? You probably got some Lego hanging around, especially if you have children, though. I mean, for kids' games, Duplo or Lego or something like that, something that's, even like, I mean, things like magnet tiles and things like that. I mean, my kids make up games with all those things, right? And you can easily see them being part of some more generic game where they're like, okay, have a thing where you've got some blocks or something where you can lay out, a board, right, with these blocks. Doesn't even matter. I mean, it could just literally be draw it on a piece of paper or something. And there's a huge cottage industry in play-by-mail games, but also games that you can kind of make at home as well that are often just the rules or, words. So where do you think 3D printing comes in this? Because obviously that's also a big, there's a lot of people who are printing game counters and replace, like, I mean, this would be if you lost a penguin,
perfect example.
you could easily 3D print another penguin, right? And I mean, and there are some, as with my 3D printer hat on, which I do have one.
Next to your packaging hat.
It is right next to my packaging hat, yes.
This is like a shelf. You're like Mr. Ben, only with hats.
With hats. I mean, there are some more like biodegradable plastics that, I mean, they need industrial strength, biodegradable, it's composting, but they are, they're on the way to being, so I mean, there may be something in that too, right? Where there's this kind of whole life cycle, but then also just things like, when you finished playing a game, find another home for it.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
it's how many times you're going to play a game and
So like board game libraries also, right? We can just borrow them instead of buying them.
And board game cafes as well.
Exactly.
Because then you're actually also keeping a small business.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I say, it kind of spirals the moment that you kind of think about it.
You can start to see all these further impacts.
So I wanted, let's open this up. Yes. So what I was going to, yes, go for it. So what I was going to say is let's open this. So I really recommend this game. Again, thank you, Doug, for playing this with me. It's a fantastic game. It's a little card game that you play backwards. You lay the cards backwards as you go on a journey. So you start at the end of the journey. Okay. So first of all, obviously we've said it's got plastic on it. So we've got a problem in my pocket. However, it has done something quite clever on the back. What do you think is clever about the back?
It's all auf Deutsch. Jenseits des Nebelmeers schlummert der geheimnisvolle Kontinent Alula.
So it's in German.
It is in German, yes. Which I have a German hat.
You're in the German hat.
So you go, hang on, it has the instructions on the back, looks like. You play from left to, it's got all the information about all of the cardboard and things that's being used. I don't know. What else do I need to know?
So
it tells me stuff about like how many players, what sorts of game it is, like thinking.
So you've also put your academic critique hat on, which means you've missed the surface detail.
Thing, right?
So the really obvious detail, this is written in German.
Yes.
So German board game.
I did say that though.
You did say that, but you didn't think about why. So German board game industry, massive.
It is massive.
Absolutely massive. I don't actually know if there is an English version of the back. I just bought the cheap one on Amazon. And that's because I know that I can look up any of the rules that I need online.
Yeah.
And that's actually, there is more than one board game shop in the UK that does this, that will sell the German copy, which is great because you're now cutting down on printing. It's on it.
Got it. I got these things where you actually have to read about the Die drei sonderbaren Arten, which is a little bit beyond my 3
However,
arts.
you can just look it all up.
Yeah, you could look at it.
So it doesn't actually matter whether or not the rules.
And and a lot of the rules are quite. It looks quite visual, anyway, which is quite good.
Yes. So when it arrived, instead of thinking, oh, rude word, I've ended up with a German edition. I was like, it doesn't actually matter. I can just go and look it up. Also, because games are often a shared currency, Doug has already explained the rules to me. So I kind of basically know how to play this game. And I knew I wanted my own copy because I knew I was going to play it with my friends. Okay, so the other thing that this is avoided doing is that some games do this. This one didn't, but Flow did, that I got at Christmas. Also a really good game. Nice little cooperative game. It had 2 different rule books in 6 languages. So yes, it had compressed all of the rules, but at the same time, I now had a complete piece of junk that just went straight in the recycling. Very glossy paper. So, okay, so we've got our rules and everything's in German, but that's easily fixable, right? Not too worried about that. Okay, next. This is the inside.
We've got a pad of paper.
Nice pad of paper.
Which has very specific numbers and obviously scoring thing on it. Yep. We've got more plastic on some cards, which I won't bother to open. We've got another set of cards with some plastic on it. And then we have, we can put the cards back in the box.
Yeah, we can put them back in the box. And then we've got what's called the insert. Okay. Yeah. So again, potentially we could half the size of this box by, instead of having them as a nice little showcase, they actually fit.
Yeah, and then
the bottom.
This would actually fit on top.
That would fit on top.
Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. Yeah. And in terms of portability, that's actually made it a bit more portable. I'm sure there are really, really good commercial reasons for boxes being the sizes that they are. But again, I when I picked it up off the shelf, because I knew it was unopened, I literally did that with it. And I thought I can bring it in and use this as an example of why the packaging is a lot bigger than it's meant to be. And even, I mean, I would say, hey, that's my fish. If it got any smaller, it would be a problem. But at the same time, it's still half the size. So, but as I say,
got an insert.
I don't know the ins and outs of producing this particular box. What I do know is that Cosmos produce escape room games that are about the same size as this box.
Oh.
So it may be that Cosmos have a deal on all the boxes this size and needed to fit this game into them. In which case, are they actually saving money because they're producing everything in the standard size?
Yeah, that's quite common in that sort of industry. Yeah, you try to fit things into sizes that you've already got because it costs more to. Once again, with my packaging hat on, I didn't know that was going to come in handy today.
So again, there's I think hopefully kind of what we've done a little bit is talked a little about the complexity of doing this, because I think there is a huge will with board game designers. In fact, I know there is, because I've spoken to a lot of them, because that's a lot of the research project that I'm working on, where they want to be sustainable. And it's not just out of the goodness of their hearts, it's to also save money. Everybody wants to save money and make a good product. But the ways of doing it are really, really, there's not the production. There's a lot of, and there's also a lot of things that, if you're an indie developer, you are not in the position of Cosmos in being able to say, well, we've got 3 million boxes on contract.
Yeah.
You've got to use whatever it is that you're given. And I think there's just loads to do on this. So
it's always loads to do.
Always loads to do. Yeah.
So I'd like to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
For such a fabulous trip through the sustainable or lack of,
or sometimes of,
or trying very hard to board game industry.
Thanks very much.
That's been Developer Mode.
Thank you.